live. We are live on my channel. My name is Heather Dewey Pettit. But this is not my usual thing that I do. Usual kind of content that I've been doing at the moment. I've been doing a lot of live streams for productivity, sprinting for productivity. But today I have the fabulous Mr. Perry Bruns.
Bruns.
Wrong thing. There we go. Right over there to my stage right. So let's see. I wanted to start off by saying hi and welcome again. I'm Heather Dewey Pettit, but we are here to talk about Mr. Perry Bruns, but also about where we met at NecronomiCon Tampa and all things Necro, all the things NecronomiCon Tampa and what that is. So, would you like to talk about what NecronomiCon is?
Oh, 100%. Thank you very much for having me on, Heather. I am Perry Bruns, and I'm part of Stonehill Science Fiction Association. We started back in 1981. I wasn't there at the time. I was alive, but I wasn't there. And in 1982, Stonehill opened the first NecronomiCon back in 1980 at USF. And since then, we've grown and shrank, and we're currently at the Embassy Suites at USF, which is a much better facility. I think we were just in the Student Union building at the time. This will be our 44th NecronomiCon coming up on September 27th to 29th, 2025. We have Timothy Zahn, the award-winning sci-fi author and creator of Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Star Wars franchise.
Who is actually a recurrent guest at NecronomiCon.
He is. This is the first time in a while we've actually listed him as guest of honor, but he, barring schedule conflicts, is there almost like 3 out of every 4 years, I think.
Yes.
And he's also back to host our annual main trivia competition, the Trivia Conspiracy, which runs Saturday afternoons for usually 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., though we're still setting the schedule up for this year and finalizing everything. But he also hosts panels on writing and on Star Wars and on anything sci-fi. For those who don't know Timothy Zahn's career, it goes back to before Stonehill. He published his first books in the 70s. He's responsible for the Cobra series and several other, mainly military sci-fi, but he's also done some sci-fantasy. He did one, and I'm struggling to remember the name of the... Say again?
But that makes sense.
Yeah, there's one where basically there's sort of an underlying layer of magic under New York City.
Interesting.
And a feud between warring factions of magical creatures. So I wish I could remember the name of it. But he's written a ton of stuff. It's all good. If you pick up a Timothy Zahn book, it's going to be great. Robert Westerfield's also a frequent panelist and guest, and we're hoping to get him back this year, though he is actively filming for Westerfield Productions.
Okay.
So
very nice.
I'm not booked for anything that he's doing that weekend, but I am booked for some other stuff that we're hoping to get set up for later this year. In particular, he's working on an adaptation of the short story Omnilingual, in which I'll be playing a Quebecois captain in the Canadian Air Force, and sort of an attaché to the Corps of Engineers who will be on Mars trying to terraform it while they learn the language.
Okay.
And that is not the final accent, but that is somewhat close to the light Quebecois accent that I've been working on. My day job is with the Murder Mystery Company, which is not part of Stonehill, but is a lot of fun. We do immersive murder mysteries.
Yeah.
And that has helped me kind of inform what I do at the con, which is panels and trivia. So in addition to scorekeeping for the Trivia Conspiracy, I also do our adaptation of Wait, Wait called Wait, Wait, Let Me Guess for legal reasons. That's Sunday morning, September 29th at the con. in which we have a
Usually
panel
Sundays?
of guests.
Or am I wrong? I'm interrupting. I'm sorry.
Say again?
That's usually on Sundays, isn't it?
It is usually on Sundays, yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay.
It's something to get people up in the morning. But hopefully they'll have packed because usually it's around checkout time.
Right.
But we actually bring on contestants from the audience to answer questions with our panel. And it is basically the year's fandom news. So I have the advantage of only doing it about once every couple of months because I also do it for other conventions. Hoping to do it in July for MetroCon.
Right.
But I do it every year for Stonehill, have been since 2004.
Wow, cool.
And we haven't been sued yet, so I think that's a good sign.
Yeah,
but we do. It's basically a quiz with laughs.
Knock on wood, though, of a bamboo.
Yeah. We also have the Divine Madness Players back this year. They are a local sketch group made up of community theater actors and professional stage actors who come in and perform scripts that are picked by a panel of judges, including the director, Jim Moss, and Hal. Why am I forgetting Hal's last name? I've worked with those two several times over the years. I was in Divine Madness the first 2 years it was out, including the year we had to film it for COVID. And then the regular con stuff and the murder mystery stuff just got too intense where I couldn't make rehearsals. We also have Craftthulu, which is our arts and crafts fair where we teach people how to do interesting fandom related crafts. That is part of our Cthulhu Academy running series on fan education. A lot of Necronomicon is fan run. Because all of us are fans. It's a not-for-profit group. Stonehill is a 501c not-for-profit group. We are not a charity because of the fact that we work for a charity, not as a charity ourselves.
Right. So a 501c, not a 501c3?
Right. So your donations to the charity we work for, Kids and Canines, are tax deductible. They are a 501c3. Right. We've been working with Kids and Canines for at least the past 25, 30 years, somewhere around there. They are a group that matches at-risk youth with at-risk canines, and the kids teach the dogs how to be service dogs.
Yeah,
and we've been
that really caught my attention when I first started attending again, as an adult.
Yeah, and they've been super for us. They come in every year. They bring some of the kids and the dogs that they're working with. The dogs usually end up participating in our costume competition, which is now more of a costume show. We don't really judge people. Heaven knows some of the costumes I've entered shouldn't be judged. But we've got some great cosplayers that come to the con every year
as well. That there's no judgment here, and there are lots of DIY cosplay or costuming or grab a T-shirt. Honestly.
Oh, 100%. The point of cosplay to me is the play part.
And pretending.
But we do have some really good cosplayers that come in. Yeah. We also have panels on how we have a group on Facebook called Cheap Ass Costuming.
Yes.
And it's run by Ann Morris, who's a con chair emeritus for Necronomicon.
Yes.
She has in years past, she's been our guest liaison. She's run the con. She's had every role possible, and now we're letting her enjoy her retirement.
Yeah. She definitely earned it. She did so much, honestly.
Well, she did the first 41 years of it. I think that's pretty extraordinary in this climate.
Absolutely.
A lot of cons don't last as long as we do.
She is, one of the founding members of SouthernMediaCon, the parent, or whatever you want.
Well, Stonehill, yeah.
The parent organization.
Yeah. SouthernMediaCon we do put on in June, and I'll be getting a wait panel ready for that as well, I think. But it'll be less of a full-blown thing and more of just a fandom news trivia. Because a lot of people just want to answer the questions and not have to make up the jokes, so I do that. We're also doing the Bulwer Lytton Fiction Contest. The original Bulwer Lytton Fiction Contest was started by Professor Scott Rice at San Jose State University back in the 80s. And it ran up until this past year. In January 2025, he announced he's retiring from running the competition. which is to create the funniest opening sentence to the worst novel never written. It's named for Sir Edward George. Yeah, never written. It's named for Sir Edward George Bulwer-Lytton, who was then created Earl of Bulwer-Lytton, who wrote some of the most turgid novels I've ever heard of. And the theme of the contest comes from the sentence, "It was a dark and stormy night." And so he had 6 books based on that phrase or clause that starts off one of the longest sentences in the English language. The actual sentence, if you read it out, is 131 words.
I read it. I think it was popped in the main group not long ago, and I was like, wow. But it painted such an image, you know. I don't remember where I saw it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do it as a breath test when I voice act.
That's a great idea.
If I can keep my breath through the entire sentence, then I'm probably okay to record. But the idea behind it is that we're going to have people submit sentences either in the Facebook group, which is NecronomiCon Science Fiction Convention. There is another Necronomicon out there. It's in Rhode Island, so it's closer to the stomping grounds of H.P. Lovecraft. We're not affiliated with them. I understand they do some great work, but we're separate groups. The Bulwer-Lytton contest that we're doing, though, we're going to have people submit sentences. Again, the funniest opening sentence to the worst novel ever written. And we're going to read them live on stage. I'm going to have a panel. And the idea is that whoever breaks or laughs while reading the sentence loses a point. Whoever loses the most points at the end has to do something, which will probably be to do something silly for the audience's benefit. I don't know if you've ever watched like QI where they have to do a forfeit. Or not QI, Breaking News on Dropout TV. Where they read news articles written by the staff of Dropout to be funny. They're not actual news. And whoever laughs or breaks loses points. Whoever loses the most points at the end has to do or say something silly. So I'm thinking we're going to do that for Bulwer-Lytton at Stonehill. But yeah, if you join the group, it's NecronomiCon Tampa. Let me pull up the exact, I'll put it in the chat. Let's see. Here we go. NecronomiCon Science Fiction Convention, Tampa, Florida. And of course, I'm going back to every window except the streaming window. And I'll put that in the guest chat. So people who follow that link will be able to join our group, submit sentences, and find out what else we're doing, because there's so much to describe over that 3 days that I would overflow this interview to get it all out. So let's see. Other stuff we're doing, we always do hard science panels. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm not hearing you. Or did you mute your microphone?
Sorry about that. I was coughing and then I forgot I was muted.
Oh, gotcha.
So anyway, so I did want to talk specifically about SouthernMediaCon because that does happen first, because that is actually in June.
Yeah, it's coming right up June 21st through 23rd. And if you go to our main website, Necronomicon or necrofl.org,
yes,
you can find the dates for all of our conventions. SouthernMediaCon is at the third weekend in June. And I'm pulling that up right now just to double check that I have the date.
Yes, it's June 20th through 22nd.
22nd. Okay, I was the day off. I was using last year's dates. So yeah, and that one is a much more relaxed panel, or relaxed con. We have a ton of panels on mostly fandom topics, particularly video, like amateur videos, or AmVids as they used to call them, amateur music videos that are set to footage from classic sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and other fan-oriented shows. There's also a ton of fanfic discussion and even some fanfic reading. We have writing workshops, and it's generally just a kind of time to chill out, enjoy just FaceTime with people. We do have some games, and we'll be running her pub trivia. And then I'll be doing some sort of fandom quiz that may or may not be tangentially related to Wait. We may or may not be doing Vogue on Prose. Vogue on Prose has been a classic for us, where we each pull some of the silliest fanfic that we can find, either intentionally or otherwise, and try to read it without cracking up. Also, for the first time in almost 20 years, we're doing NecronomiCon Game Day, which will take place alongside Southern Media. You can either buy tickets to one or both events. NecronomiCon Game Day is part of our gaming gaming space at NecronomiCon. We always have a very lively gaming environment at NecronomiCon itself. And years past, we used to run a game day alongside Southern Media. So we're bringing that back because there are a lot of people saying, when can we game in the summer? And so we're going to have volunteer dungeon masters and game masters doing all sorts of stuff, from the new D&D to the classic D&D to Pathfinder. There will probably be some people playing Munchkin for those who love Munchkin. If you don't, it's easy to pick up and play. There are also games like Flux. There's board games. So there'll be a ton of stuff to do.
Cool. Very cool. Let's see. So, one thing I had mentioned in the description is the fact that SouthernMediaCon, now, has it always been in Pinellas County, or am I wrong? Please clarify that for me.
It has been in both Hillsborough and Pinellas over the years. Okay. It really depends on who we can get the best deal from hotel-wise. Like, we were at the Hamptons for a couple of the Hampton Inn and Suites, not the New York Hamptons, for the last several years because their hotel was just really great. We found a different location that's a little bit more convenient to us this year, and we're hoping for great things. But in years past, I mean, there were a couple of years where we hosted it at the Clarion Tampa, which is no more. And if you've ever been to a Clarion, you know why. Yeah, it was a space that was close by and economical, and that's about the only thing. Now it no longer exists because they couldn't maintain the high standards of the Clarion franchise.
Okay.
So yeah, they were actually torn down in favor of an apartment complex and some storage facilities.
Where was that exactly?
That was on Fowler, across from we're just across and sort of diagonal from University.
Okay, is that what I'm thinking of? Oh, okay, no, I was thinking of another space. I think that was probably Necronomicon, because now I have a whole history with Necronomicon myself, but it's a little bit different because I apparently went to Necronomicon in 1984 as a teenager.
Oh, wow.
Because it would have been the only thing around, right? So, so apparently...
We were for many years. It was us and Volcon.
What's that?
It was us and Volcon. And Volcon was put on by what was then Creation Conventions. They still exist, but they now put on slightly different events for sci-fi. Okay. The Volcon series ended in, I think, the late 90s. But we are one of the few not-for-profit conventions to have survived all this. Most of the other conventions you see, with the possible exception of MetroCon, are mostly for-profit. So if you go to anything with the Comic-Con name on it, where they've licensed the Comic-Con name and trade dress, they're a great convention if you want to go, because you get to see some of the biggest people in a wide variety of entertainment products. But it is a for-profit con, so that is part of what you're paying for. You're paying the salaries of the people who are running it. That said, while we work on a volunteer basis, our stuff is more about engaging the people directly.
Exactly. And
so it's sort of a party where a convention breaks out.
Intimate. I would call it intimate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can just walk right up to the authors, honestly, including Mr. Timothy Zahn, which is really amazing.
Yeah,
Who,
he is absolutely
just
fabulous.
The nicest man on earth, I swear.
He really is. And it's funny because he's a guy who...
Except for maybe this guy right here.
But Timothy Zahn's one of those guys. He is not... We list him as guest staff. He has he's the only one with a split yellow and red badge. Because we invite him as a guest. And he winds up doing staff stuff anyway. Like there were several years in a row where he would just pitch in and break down sound at the end of the show for us.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he would work with our engineers, Mike LeBou and Jay Ashworth, and just literally help. And the late lamented Pete Barnhill, sadly, who left us just after last year's con.
Right.
And all the other volunteers who work on, because we put on, we have an entire sound rig that actually takes, I'd say, the better part of 3 or 4 hours for about 5 or 6 people to set up. I usually help out where I can, which is mostly heavy lifting and testing microphones.
Yeah, I would if I could, but I can't lift much.
Yeah, that's not for everyone.
Usually on Fridays, I'm getting all my art stuff taken care of. By the way, that might be a good segue to. Okay, so do you know how long they have been running an art show at NecronomiCon Tampa?
At least 30 years, because they actually say 89. My first Necronomicon was 1989.
Okay, that might have been the one that I went to in the late 80s. But go ahead.
Yeah, and they were running an art show that year, so they had to have been running it for about 35 years, because this is 2025, so 35, 36 years.
So wow, that's quite.
We had a virtual one for the Necronomicon at home in 2020.
Yes.
And then we went right back into it as soon as we had a live con.
That con, it was pretty amazing, but it was also, I know there were a few issues in there, but it was the first one like that. So.
Oh yeah. And that's one of the funny things is we have stuff that even larger cons don't often have. We've actually put a strong emphasis on the participatory stuff, not just gaming and art show. And by the way, you can submit to art show. I want to say it's either art liaison at necro.org or I will find it. It's Terry Sears who runs the art show.
I was going to say that, yes. It's been Miss Terry Sears for the last, at least the last few years, was the liaison for the art show.
Right. And we also have, it used to just be called Writer's Alley, which you've been a participant in for quite some time. But now it's a Writer's Artist Alley because we have artists who also exhibit there as well as in the art show. Mm-hmm. But for those who do exhibit at the art show, we do really have a lot of space for prints as well as the auction itself. We do a silent auction to benefit kids and canines. And if you just want to come out and look at the pretty stuff, it's really amazing. People do everything from paintings to jewelry. Graphics chick is there and she does digital prints. Mostly now these days, mostly 3D printed and some other items. She's done digital prints in the past though.
And she has done the dragon eggs. Were those 3D printed? Do you remember?
She is one of the I think she's the primary person who does the dragon eggs and now the wands. They used to call them by a specific franchise name, but since that's kind of gone by the wayside,
yes,
in both legally and in terms of fandom, she's now just calling them magic wands, and they're pretty. Absolutely. And the texturing is really amazing. She uses a couple different filaments. For the 3D print. She uses PLA, of course, like a lot of people do. And then there's a softer print for some of the items. I haven't talked with her about all the details. I've just gone to her website because she does cons all over the state now.
I was just going to say, she does cons not only, this was her beginning, but now she does cons. She went to, she's gone to some reader type cons. So I saw her at, excuse me, pardon me, Orlando Reads Books in 23. Pardon me.
And that's another one of those great fan participation cons. That it's just an experience where you get to actually spend time with other fans about fandom. And we don't have as many celebrities as you'd see at other places. But on the other hand, you get to actually, get your hands and get your brain dirty. A sentence that I'll never say again. That you don't really get at the larger cons. The larger cons are great for exhibits, for panels with big celebrities. I do know that I've been trying to get a voice actor guest back here since we had George Lowe way back in 2005. And unfortunately, when you book a voice actor guest, the vast majority of the time you're flying them in from California, from Vancouver in Canada, from New York City, where they're doing their work. And if you get them in on a weekend, you're probably asking them to give up at least their Friday, if not the following Monday. And that's a lot of studio time. In 16 hours of studio time, a voice actor can clear at SAG-AFTRA scale $2,000 or $3,000, if I'm not mistaken. And that's just at scale. I'm not union yet, so I'm not making scale. But yeah, when you ask them to give up studio time, you're asking them to pay money.
That might be a good segue too, because I did want to talk to folks about you as well. Or you can wait until the end of this, because that is fine. That's fine too.
I'm good either way.
Let me ask you a question first. So
okay.
We've covered Necro and SouthernMediaCon. Okay. And so what was that other thing that you're doing? The other event you're going to be doing? MetroCon?
I'll most likely be at MetroCon. I need to fill out the forms and all because apparently they still have some space that they're holding for us, and they've asked us to use the regular. Because there's been some contretemps at other cons about using the actual forms as opposed to just having people bring you in. Mm-hmm. So for accounting purposes, we're going to be working with with MetroCon directly to at least bring in a couple of folks from Stonehill, time permitting, because their spaces do fill up very quickly, and we were lucky that they still had a couple hours left for us, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But at MetroCon, I'll probably be doing just a basic trivia. Okay. Kind of what Dean Dreyer calls remedial trivia when he hosts it. I will very likely be doing a version of the SmackDown event, not the wrestling one. Dean does a thing called Starship SmackDown, where he has people vote on the best ships from sci-fi. I'm going to change that a little bit. I'm going to have a different topic for the SmackDown. And I think given MetroCon's usual fandom, they are very heavy on anime. I'm thinking about just calling it Ship SmackDown and have people voting on the best pairings and polycules in anime and other fiction, where people will debate over the relationships. Each person who proposes a best ship, whether it's a starship or a ship, will vote or will actually give a discussion about why they think this is the best thing. They'll have usually a minute or 30 seconds. We'll ask them to say, well, why is the Castiel-Dean relationship, Destiel in Supernatural, the best thing in fandom, or whatever they've proposed? And it's just a lot of fun for people to nerd out for a bit. And there are no points given. There are no prizes awarded. It's just goofing around. But it always gets a lot of laughs. People really just enjoy themselves.
Hey, I got to say real quick. Whenever I'm doing a panel or watching a panel that's right next door to this, there's so much laughter. It's really funny. And we're like, we're missing out.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of fun. This year, we're also at NecronomiCon. I try to come up with an experimental format every year. I usually just call it the Trivia Experiment. But this year, I'm putting that aside for a different thing. It's still experimental, but the format is sort of established. And it's a experts-only trivia. I'm actually auditioning contestants for the first time. And that's why I wanted to bring it up now, because I didn't want to forget about it. Mm-hmm. It's going to be called Why Do You Know That?
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, that's an example of the level of trivia we're dealing with. So I'm going to be chatting with people individually on our Discord in the voice channels and kind of going over the show format. It's essentially just a round robin trivia thing. Each person will answer a question on their given topic. If they fail to answer the question, though, someone from one of the other topics might be able to steal. And it goes around and then back. That way we don't have to bring out the buzzer again, because the lockout buzzers are great, but they're a technical pain to work with. But the idea is that each person will pick a topic that they believe they're an expert on, mastermind style. And then whoever has the most points at the end will get the audience to ask, why do you know that? That's the whole gag of the show. So it's just for bragging rights. It's just for fun. We get to see who the real experts are. I'm particularly excited about the fact that using the steal format, it is entirely possible that, like, say, the Star Trek expert might be able to steal and become the Doctor Who expert, or the Blake 7 expert, or the Supernatural, or the Stargate, or what have you expert. Mm-hmm. But yeah, basically pick a topic, show us that you can answer some of the wildest trivia questions on it. Like an example from Stargate SG-1, what sporting record did Colonel, Richard Dean Anderson's character? Yeah, I'm a trivia expert. I should know this question. Colonel O'Neill. What sporting record did Colonel O'Neill break using a Stargate? The answer is longest golf drive. He broke Alan Shepard's 1972 record for driving a golf ball on the moon.
Okay.
Yeah. So he shot a golf ball through a Stargate. And so it traveled millions of miles.
Richard Dean Anderson. So this is the
Stargate SG-1, Colonel O'Neill.
The TV? No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the TV one. Yeah, the movie.
I was like, wait a minute.
The funny thing is the TV show wildly eclipsed the movie. The movie was popular during the year it came out in 1994.
I heard that it got more popular than the movie was.
Yeah.
When it first came out, people were like, what on earth am I watching?
Well, yeah, it was a new idea. Yeah. And it's funny they reintroduced...
But it's portal fantasy or portal sci-fi.
Yeah. Hey, we actually do have a Penumbra Mine MM Ward says, smacking the ball through a wormhole doesn't count.
This is my friend Maggie. And
hi, Maggie.
She's awesome. She's an author and YouTuber, author-tuber.
See, that's the kind of thing that we would debate endlessly at a panel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, does it have to stay in the same dimensional sphere?
I've attended some like fanship panels in the past. I haven't lately, but I think I need to do it.
But it's and that's the thing. You can get grooving on a just an absolutely silly topic. We do a lot of that at Southern Media, actually, where Deb in particular, who's our panel coordinator, will pick stuff that she knows will get people kind of on the edge of their seats, asking questions, debating the particulars. There's a ton of stuff on shows that aren't normally associated with the fandom, like Leverage, that are just good, fun television.
Leverage, yeah. Why not?
Yeah. And in fact, that was SouthernMediaCon was the channel that was the convention that got me into that show. Because as a performer, I love watching just good story.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I've always been that way. I just love a good story. My whole life, and being a this is how prolific Maggie is.
Yeah, 2 million words.
I don't
know where you'd find the time for that, but apparently she does.
Honestly, Maggie, DM me because
yeah, that's a lot.
Talk about many things, including some things that I'm working on, which I have not even gotten.
Oh, excellent.
Gotten, into at the moment, but one of your hubby's favorite shows.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Brown Coat Nation. So some folks who love Firefly.
I was gonna say Firefly. Yeah.
Babylon 5 is one of those things. Of all the times in sci-fi, the 90s were one of the weirdest because you had 2 separate shows about a space station on the air at the same time. There was a massive overlap in the fandom, but there's also divide in the fandom because of the fact that, of course, J. Michael Straczynski, the creator of Babylon 5, had originally pitched it to Paramount for Star Trek.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, my muse is a drunken hummingbird who gangs up on me with my OCD goal brain. Wow. That is a sentence I did not expect to read today. But it's a lovely idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently there was a legal contretemps over it, and it was kind of thrown out on the grounds of great minds think alike. Yeah, Deep Space Nine versus Babylon 5. For what it's worth, I thought Babylon 5 was an incredibly good show. At the same time, I thought DS9 was some of the best Star Trek I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, as time went on, it was always topical. It was always topical from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely.
But just some of the plots were good, and they were all written very well. Bottom line. So.
Yeah, there were very few episodes of either Babylon 5 or DS9 that were
kind of flops.
Yeah, there were a couple that were kind of, even for a show that would have to have bottle episodes because they all take place on the station almost. Oh, Andromeda, yeah. Although that was a ship show.
I was gonna say that was it. Yeah, that's.
Oh, Andromeda versus Voyager, yeah. That was a tough one, but not for the same reason, because I found Andromeda, despite the supporting cast, Alexa Doig and Callum Keith Rennie in particular, who's a standout in sci-fi.
I'll have to look that up because I don't.
I just found Kevin Sorbo so hard to watch on that show.
But then again,
Voyager was harder for me to watch because
I was busy with things.
Well, yeah, I was in the Navy at the time, so I missed a lot of TV because of that. But Voyager was hard to watch because I could not get over the Gilligan's Island in space premise.
Oh no. Really?
Well, because it seemed like the rug would get yanked out from under them anytime they got close to a solution that would get them home.
Oh. Okay.
They'd lose out somehow, or
I have to look.
Captain Janeway would insist, "Oh, we've had this major scientific discovery, but we've got to stay here for 6 weeks to check it out, or endanger the ship to check it out."
Uh-huh.
But that said, I think some of the episodes also aged better than I gave them credit for. Some did not age well.
Yes, I've definitely heard discussion on this before.
Yeah, and that's again stuff that we talk about at both Southern Media and Necronomicon.
Yes.
And
it's a great reason to go.
Yeah.
Is as you said earlier, the engagement and the conversations that happen during panels. We try not to let them go too over time or whatever, but sometimes it's hard to stop talking about things.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's a good parallel, Maggie. Voyager was the Odyssey in space. That is a better way to think about it. And I could definitely see Captain Janeway as an Odysseus type.
Sure.
Because she knows her stuff. She's just in impossible situations every week.
Yes.
So that would actually fit.
Which, and it also fits the Star Trek, what am I looking for? Tradition, whatever I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I'd love to do a panel on...
right, Maggie?
Yeah, I'd love to do a panel on one act or two shows, though, because you had Callum Keith Rennie in Andromeda, and then you had Callum Keith Rennie in Star Trek Discovery. He was the XO in season 5.
Okay.
Spoilers. Now, obviously, they're two different people because Callum Keith Rennie in the 1990s is 30 years younger than Callum Keith Rennie in the 2020s.
Okay.
And you get the benefit of...
So what else did he work on?
Oh, Farscape. Oh, man. My favorite moment in SG-1 was actually a Farscape moment. Because Ben Browder... My favorite SG-1 moment from Stargate SG-1 was actually a Farscape moment. Because both Ben Browder and Claudia Black were in both shows. And so, in the 200th episode of Stargate, they're pitching ideas for a reboot of a show called Wormhole Extreme, which is a show within a show. It's a TV show that's helping to finance the Stargate project. And everybody in the cast is pitching their own version of Wormhole Extreme. And one of the funniest moments, Vash, Claudia Black, who played, of course, Aaron's son in Farscape, pitches what is essentially Farscape. So they're running around, they're puppets, and the ship is alive, and everybody just sort of turns in their chairs and looks at her. And the producer goes, I don't know what that is. But it's hysterically funny. The only thing about Stargate SG-1's 200th episode is it really only rewards the people who had been watching Stargate for that whole time, because it has a ton of Easter eggs and in-jokes. I think that's the episode where O'Neill, and I know Maggie disagrees with me, but does the golf thing. I can't swear for sure, but it might have been an earlier episode. But yeah, Farscape was a show that should not have lasted based on the idea. It just caught on with enough of the fans that the Sci-Fi Channel at the time saw a reason to keep airing it because it worked. I think they also had buy-in from CBC in Canada, because a lot of shows on Sci-Fi were also not only co-broadcast, if not simulcast, but also co-funded by CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Channel. That's cool. And that was an effort to keep the costs down and keep viewership up. So there was, speaking of the Odyssey, there was a show on the Odyssey that was originally a CBC show. And it was about a kid in a coma who's living in an entirely separate dimension, psychically.
Oh, wow.
And trying to find his way back to his body. Interesting.
What? Are you kidding?
I didn't realize they discussed Pern on Enterprise. Enterprise never really worked for me because there was too much Brannon Braga in it. You know, things like the woman in the tight jumpsuit for no good reason.
I know. And you know, when I saw that with some of the you know, in the you know, the early 2000s type era and the late 90s type era, I'm like, really? Why? I mean, I could see things that are, the point is to be comfortable. And I liked the pantsuit thing, you know, in that time frame, but I didn't like what was the post-board character, 10 of 9? No, that's not right. Whatever it was.
7 of 9 for Voyager?
That's it.
Yeah.
I didn't like what she wore. I mean, I know what the point was, but I just thought it was dumb.
Well, and they spent a good segment of dialogue explaining.
He's smart.
Yeah, well, that was the trouble, was they felt the need to spend an entire segment explaining why she's wearing a skin-tight outfit, as opposed to just having her wear something. But they had this whole complicated double-speak technobabble explanation of why she was wearing the silver jumpsuit. And it was something to do with skin connectivity to interfere with the remaining implants or some nonsense. But
Probably
you notice that as soon as she
did that, because some people said like, okay, can we? Why?
Yeah. And you notice that as soon as Jerry Ryan left that show and went on to Boston Legal, say again?
She went on
or Boston Public. I'm sorry, she was on Boston Public.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
She immediately started showing what she could actually do. I mean, she was good on Voyager. The character did develop
her acting,
yeah. But as soon as she got on to projects where her looks were not the focus, or at least not the sole focus, she was really able to go out there.
Platform.
Yeah, and her work on the third season of Star Trek Picard was another example of that, where they just had her wearing the uniform.
That's great.
And they let her be a character.
Unfortunately.
Oh, it's really worth the watch. I will say that people joking about Terry Matalos basically putting on season 3 so he could play with the toys are not wrong. There's a lot of like, ooh, look at this ship. But I don't necessarily disagree with that approach. Plus, the original Next Gen cast gets a really good send off. I think a send off that they almost got with All Good Things, but then when the movies kind of interfered with that, this is again for people who are tuning in now and asking why we're not talking about the conventions. This is the kind of stuff we talk about at NecronomiCon,
Yes.
at SouthernMediaCon,
Yeah.
and even to an extent at Game Day, because while Game Day does focus on whatever the game masters and dungeon masters want to put on, you will frequently have sci-fi as well as fantasy. I think because fantasy RPGs started off the genre of tabletop RPGs, there's always a
also, Perry.
yes.
Real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Maggie on that.
Having one of these little doodads in front of you, I ran out of time.
Oh, but yes, please go to necrofl.org.
Yes.
Or search Necronomicon Science Fiction Convention Tampa, Florida on Facebook.
Put Tampa.
Yeah, we do put Tampa, even though there's only one other one in there in Rhode Island.
Yeah,
but
exactly, way up in Rhode Island.
I don't want people flying halfway up the eastern seaboard, although I hear Rhode Island is nice in September.
Yes, I have.
It's wet, but it's nice.
Let's see.
But yeah, Maggie says that Scott.
I was a huge Scott Bakula fan, starting with Quantum Leap, obviously, but which was a really interesting show. But yes, we are digressing. But
oh yeah.
But I agree. What was I gonna say? Let's see. Oh yes. Let's talk real quick about the genres that tend to be represented at Necro as well as SouthernMediaCon, and then we will get to. I think we'll come around back to talking about you.
Okay. Well, we are one of the few conventions that represents as many genres as we do, because we cover between events and panels sci-fi, fantasy, horror, anime, although a lot of our anime content is actually provided by Juan San Miguel, former convention chair at Oasis in Orlando. Sorry, that's a very good point, Maggie. We are in Tampa, Florida. Awesome. Because there is a Tampa elsewhere. I want to say Ohio. I know there's a Miami of Ohio. But yeah, there are other Tampas around the world, including in Spain. But we are Tampa, Florida. We are.
Yeah, is it Spain? Okay.
I'm going to look that up real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are 3 cities in the U.S. alone named Tampa. We're the most well known, according to 10 Tampa Bay, who might be biased. But there is an unincorporated community in Colorado called Tampa. They're in Weld County, for those who are from Colorado. Hi to Tampa, Colorado. And then
I have to talk to a family member about that.
Oh, and the other Tampa is an incorporated city. They were incorporated in 1908. So we are the original Tampa in the U.S.
Yes.
Because Tampa, Florida incorporated in 1887. Why do I know so much about Tampa? Because it's funny. Of all the places I could know anything about. But yeah,
it's almost like, in a way, it's almost kind of like New Orleans, but Maggie knows I used to live there. But because it's such a combination of things.
I think New Orleans' ruins are better, though.
New Orleans what?
Ruins.
Ruins that...
Because, like the abandoned buildings and defunct... Defunct storefronts.
Tampa
I just
kind of had its moment where nobody wanted to be there for
yeah. Well, in
decades
after Katrina,
anyway, it's like downtown is flourishing and stuff like that. But anyway,
but yeah, we do cover a wider variety of genres than most cons of any size, much less our size. And we don't just cover movies, we cover a lot of books, we cover fan fiction, fan art, especially at SouthernMediaCon. Okay. We also do have a dealer's table at SouthernMediaCon that it goes to benefit the convention and kids and canines, though we don't run Southern Media specifically for kids and canines the way we do NecronomiCon Tampa.
Right.
It is more just by fans, for fans. But you can get really good fan art, some zines. I know Deborah on the Facebook group mentioned that we she has an absolute ton of zines they need to get rid of because she's tired of dragging them to conventions. So some classic stuff that really originated the fan fiction genre. And we also cover not just games in terms of playing them, but we also talk about games. We talk about writing them, collaborative gaming as opposed to just competitive board games. Because even board gaming has advanced so much in just the last 40 years. There is a board gaming library that Stephanie Sharp runs among all the other stuff she does for gaming.
Oh, goodness.
So if there's a particular board game you want to try, NecronomiCon in September is the place to do it. Because we have just an absolute ton of games that are donated to the gaming library by members and volunteers.
Yeah, and so whenever I walk by the rooms where all the gaming is, and I definitely say that in the plural because some years I'll be walking by and I'm like, oh, there's more.
Yeah.
It's whoa. And I checked out not too long ago. I checked out the website just to look at that aspect of it, and I was like pages and pages of types of specific games that are offered there, for free, folks included.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's no extra, and there's no extra for anything at Necro.
No, just for merchandise, but that's strictly optional.
That's what I meant. Other than buying merchandise, there's no additional fees for getting a signature in a book from a local author or Timothy Zahn even.
Or Timothy Zahn, yes.
And that's, you don't see that anymore too much.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, I cannot say enough good stuff about Timothy Zahn because every year that he comes and hosts the Trivia Conspiracy, he puts up with the four of us who write it, because it's written by Dean Dreyer, Mark Jones, Corwin Zahn, relation, and me. We write the trivia questions.
They're both so nice.
Oh, they are. And then Dean is our co-host, so he sits up on stage and introduces a new topic every time a new topic comes up. And we asked him to read some of the most off-the-wall questions and answers in the world, and he does it with a straight face most years. So he is sort of the undeserved gravitas of our game. That is a great idea, Maggie. Mm-hmm. Would you be willing to host it? I can talk to Rick Quevedo Lorenzo, our panel coordinator. But she says, I would love a panel on converting your series into a tabletop RPG.
Because Maggie actually lives in Colorado.
Oh, okay. So it might be hard for her to host. Might be hard for us to host in person, or for her to do it. But yeah, and there are so many different styles and mechanics of RPGs. I used to get frustrated as a high schooler because I used to play a whole bunch of different role-playing games, and people say, oh, is that like Dungeons and Dragons? And I got this kind of big head about it. I was like, no, it's not all Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, it is because it's the first well-known one. There were several different ones that were kind of popping up at the same time.
Okay.
But in 1974, Gygax and Arneson kind of cemented the genre with the original White Book and then Blue Book editions of the first edition of D&D. Okay. But since then, there have been, I'd say conservatively right now, in print, there are probably about 100. All time, there have probably been about 2,000. And that's a wild guess, but I will defend it. Because if you go to drivethroughrpg.com, who I don't know if they're a sponsor, I hope they are. Because I love DriveThruRPG and DriveThruFiction. Because they give their authors a good deal. They give their players a good deal, their readers a good deal. I've used them now for about 20 years when I need to buy either a PDF or a print copy of something, because that way I know that the creators are getting the money, which is very important, especially nowadays. But yeah, turning a particular fantasy work into an RPG is also probably easier than it's ever been before, because there's so much available on game mechanics to tailor a system to your work. So if you explore a particular theme in one of your series, you can explore it in the game. And even you can adapt stuff. Now, some some gaming systems are more adaptable than others. I wonder, Maggie, if you've heard of Kids on Bikes. It's a system that basically mimics a genre of fantasy and horror fiction where you basically have 4 or 5 kids on bicycles encountering some weirdness just outside of town. And it draws on Stand By Me and Stranger Things and other similar genre or subgenre standouts. But it's a super simple system. It's easy to pick up and play. The skills are very real world. And it's basically, a lot of it's surviving the monster of the week, which is really good. Like, just jump in and play stuff. World Anvil. Yes. Again, I don't know if they're a sponsor. I would like them to be. I've played around with World Anvil before, and it's a great place to develop a role-playing world. And if you've already got all the stuff, yeah, Kids on Bikes is a lot of fun. But yeah, you mentioned World Anvil, and just kind of, again, I don't know if they sponsor Stonehill, but I hope they do, because they are a very powerful set of tools for world building. They allow you to put all of your visual, audio, and story assets together in one place and build stuff that's all your own. And it is a subscription. I think there's a free version that I've played with, but I know that the real power comes from the subscription version. And if World Anvil would like to message Stephanie Sharp, our gaming department head, if they are not already in contact with her, yeah, I'm sure she's probably already in talks with them if they're not sponsoring already. I don't.
Wow.
Gaming is the most heavily sponsored department at Stonehill by a wide margin. I'm not even sure our other departments have sponsors. But we've had some brilliant people. Steve Jackson has sponsored our show over the years. He is, of course, the creator of GURPS and most recently Munchkin. And there are so many Munchkin supplements out there. You can now buy it by the pound. Not really. We've had Pathfinder tournaments. I don't think we're doing Pathfinder tournaments currently because Pathfinder has a set of requirements that can be a little bit heavy for a smaller convention. Like I know when Oasis sponsored them, all gaming was Pathfinder. Now I don't know if that was Oasis's decision or Oasis's.
I'm looking up.
I don't know if it was their decision or if it was Pathfinder's request, but Pathfinder's a good system, but I don't know that we'd have people just wanting to play Pathfinder. So we definitely have at least 1 or 2 tables at a time running Pathfinder, but we also have D&D. We've got the new Marvel. I've lost the ability to talk. We've got the Marvel Multiverse.
For more than an hour.
Yeah. We've got the Marvel Multiverse RPG. Brandon Smith ran a game in that last year, and it's really fun for people who love superhero games but don't love math. Because the vast majority of other superhero... Yeah, that's the one thing that's been weird about superhero RPGs versus fantasy tabletop is D&D requires a little bit of math, but like Hero System, what used to be called Champions, which we always have something in that from that system, but it requires a ton of math. And the main reason why I will happily play a Champions game at a con or Danger International, same universe, different settings, is because Dean does all the math. Dean usually runs those games for us.
Okay.
And I don't have to actually calculate my character stats. I just roll 3d6 and move on.
In the chat directly to, I mean, it's more like, what would you call that, a sub-page? It's a part of the...
Yeah, it's a sub-page of NecronomiCon, necrofl.org. But yeah, it's at the Holiday Inn Express, Gulf to Bay Boulevard,
earlier,
Clearwater.
That it's in Clearwater this year, so that's why I submitted some things.
Oh yeah, and it's a ton closer than Largo was. Largo, you had to kind of really push out west to get to.
Yeah, it's further south, essentially.
South, yeah.
If anybody's unfamiliar with Pinellas County, it's literally just south of Clearwater. In Dunedin. It's
so
Clearwater,
but
Dunedin
it's
type area.
Yeah, once you've survived US 19, you can do anything. But yeah,
So anyway,
the new location
for me, because I live like from this area, it's like 20 minutes away. So.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, for me, it depends on traffic. Anytime you have to cross the bay,
Yeah.
traffic kind of gets wild.
And 19. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
The nice thing is Gulf to Bay is usually safer than 19.
Especially the fact that Pinellas County's, our population triples in the spring and summer.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. But anyway, because, beaches and all. Anyway, so first SouthernMediaCon, that's next month in June, and we checked it out. It's 20th through 22nd.
Right.
Which would be very kind of convenient for me because I'm going to try to publish my first book, if not the 22nd and the 24th. Maybe we'll see. I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah.
If barring
I hope for the best
issues, but thank you very much. That's the nonfiction book I've talked about before on my channel, which is something I thought of because I'm an editor, trying to think of kind of like reader magnet, but client magnet. So anyway, it's just anyway, it's I don't want to talk too much about it, but I don't want to take up that much time. But anyway,
Well, you've written a lot of stuff to be proud of, though.
Oh, thank you very much. I have a blog and everything, but yeah. So it's about fairies. It's information for writers, essentially. It's a glossary and guide for writing about them and using mythology and folklore and such to create characters. So in terms of what I'm doing for NecronomiCon, part of it, I'm doing one of the workshops actually. Currently, I'm doing a workshop, and it's about it's very specific. It's creating ways to create characters, like fairy or fae or whatever you want to call it, characters with sensitivity, and so that's the workshop. So.
Ooh. That's a question for you, I think.
So let's see. Well, so Maggie's saying for anybody needs me to say it out loud. Maggie's wondering, how much do you think authors benefit from having merch versus the books and the bookmarks? And tables. Okay. So let's see. I mean, I have seen so many authors with their tables, especially lately now that we've had the alley, added the authors to the alley. I see like, freebies, but I also do see paid merch. Mostly you see that in the vendor room, though. Yeah, that sounds right. But anyway, I see people buying a lot of stickers, Maggie. I see people buying and books from these authors. It's not that like, basically I've heard people say that this is like one of their best days and one of their best events. I've literally heard people say this multiple times over the years. So, right, exactly. Some have tons of, and some have no merch, and some are like, if you buy a book, they just stuff a bunch of things in there.
Oh yeah.
So like whether it's just promo type items or it's whatever. So it just depends on the author and what their budget is, right? But hey, there's a little thing here too, is that budget wise, Necronomicon is a very good value for authors who want to be a part of it. In the author/artist alley, or having a table in the vending room. Also, the art show has what they call a print print shop space where not only you can like have a few small pieces of prints of your artwork. If you're an author, you can put a couple of copies of your books there. And that's just another way of making some funds. And so often if there is an author who is also an artist, they'll have things together like that, grouped. And that should be, that's right. But yes. So there's many opportunities to
I think at the very minimum, it would help you get your brand out.
To end this in a moment, so I think.
Okay. That is an excellent question, Maggie. I would say table banners. We already have a lot of authors and artists who do table banners and back banners. I strongly recommend them in most cases. Mm-hmm. As opposed to the dancing air guys and light shows, I would suspect that might be banned by the hotel itself. Because anything that distracting might be
lots of that though. I've seen lots of those table banners, and I've seen the standing signs too.
Yeah. I would say in general, anything that doesn't endanger. So we definitely cannot ask you. We have to ask you not to set your neighbor's tablecloth on fire. That would be absolutely against policy for fire code reasons, as well as for just personal comfort.
Yes.
I'm assuming that was an accident.
Yeah,
in Florida, it probably wouldn't be.
I hope that's an accident.
But yeah, for those who aren't seeing the chat, we had a vendor, Maggie says we had a vendor in Colorado Springs Con who set their neighbor's tablecloth on fire.
Yes,
and that is probably why we would, if someone did try to.
I'm sure that was an accident.
Yeah, I'd venture to say our current con chair, Peter Popovich, who's been the con chair for the last 3 years, would probably take a dim view of anybody who set up anything that involved, even if it didn't endanger the other guests.
Yeah.
Or members. But yeah, I would say that anything that isn't intrusive, anything like a background banner or a standing table sign, or
and usually that's behind the table.
Yeah, the table banner would be the sort of dress in the front, skirt in front of the table. As long as it clips over the existing or can attach the table without damaging it, I think it should be okay.
And the way
but Peter Popovich would be
the layout is everybody's against a wall, so there's nobody behind you.
Yeah, so the back banners are no problem at all.
There are some spots in the vending room that are right in the middle, but you're facing out. It's like this. So
yeah.
It's not like,
well, even if you have a vending area table, a dealer's room table, if you're in that center area, there's plenty of space to run banners back to back with people. Because that does happen from time to time. And as long as it's not intrusive, generally that is coordinated through the con chair, I believe, if not dealer's room, who I think that's also Stephanie.
Oh, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. Stephanie Sharp does a million things and all of them well.
Yes, she does.
And she is one of the major reasons why our conventions are improved there.
Reasons just this year. So for anybody who's unaware, so Perry and I are both part of NecronomiCon Tampa and SouthernMediaCon, and let's see, I've been as an adult, I've been coming to NecronomiCon Tampa since 2014. For some reason, I didn't come a couple years prior. I just had stuff going on. And then I started pitching panels in 2018. And so I've been a panelist ever since. And oh my gosh, what? But the first time I did it, it was just, I surprised myself basically. Very nervous that first year, but it's a slowly going away. So if anybody's worried about that sort of thing, everybody gets that way, and and not to worry about that. If you're interested in pitching ideas to a con, whichever con it is. But anyway, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up soon.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome, Maggie. And thank you so much for coming.
Great hearing from you.
Let's see. So, let me see one more time. I'm gonna pop things back on chat right here. So here it is again. SouthernMediaCon is in Clearwater this year. It's next month, June 20th through 22nd. Looks like I'll be there. I did pitch at least one demo, and so I was looking at other things to assist, and so and let's see, as far as NecronomiCon Tampa, where is my where's my thing? Here we are. So if anybody is local or is going to be around here at the time frame of both of these cons, you can buy tickets if you'd like at this website here, necrofl.org. There's also a spot on their website to buy tickets for Southern Media. NecronomiCon Tampa is this year. It's the last weekend in September.
September 26th through 28th.
26th through 28th. Thank you very much. I'm like, and so yes. Why don't we wrap this up, Perry, by talking about what you do otherwise, real quick.
Well, I mentioned this briefly earlier. My main gig right now is with the Murder Mystery Company, part of American Immersion Theater. We also do atmospheric entertainment, Famous for a Day, where we become your literal entourage. And we turn you into a star. And the Princess Party Company, which is the one division I don't work for. I don't fit any of the gowns. The Murder Mystery Company, though, we put on comedy murder mysteries all around the country, including our show in Times Square right now, Speak Easy, Die Softly. And here in Florida, we do primarily ticketed events through Maggiano's Little Italy and a ton of private events. So if you are looking to kill a friend or relative, not literally, I have to say that because this is Florida, give us a call. We are at murdermysteryco.com or The Murder Mystery Company on Facebook and Instagram. But we can book a show in 48 hours notice anywhere in the state. I personally have been all the way from Key West to Fernandina Beach, Florida, just north of Jacksonville, which is 10 miles away from the Florida-Georgia border. We do have shows coming up, believe it or not, in Valdosta and Jekyll Island, Georgia.
Wow.
We overlap with the Atlanta troupe of the Murder Mystery Company. We're two of the 26 troops across the nation that do these shows.
Okay.
And there are a couple of hallmarks that we have that other murder mystery experiences don't. We have audience suspects. There is a true killer, and they're usually a member of the audience, where other murder mystery experiences do it a little differently, but we are, I believe, the most immersive one out there. You also, whatever team you're on, whatever table you're sitting at, you have a chance of solving the crime, because we have people team up based on, what table they're at. They may or may not have their own suspect right there at the table. And you trade clues to figure out who did it. So it really is a matter of deduction while you're in the midst of the show. You're part of the story. So that's a lot of fun. I also do audiobooks, commercials, and other voice acting. Currently, I'm in another round of auditions, updating my demos, as I do almost constantly now. I did just launch my website, brunsworks.com, at which point I found out that the website host I've been using and slowly developing all this stuff on, because I'm really good with content for web. I'm not as good with the underlying code with the modern web. I found out that the current web host, which shall remain nameless, does not host sound files higher than a certain bit rate that is not good for voice actors. So when I submit an audition, it's expected to be at generally 48-bit and 192 kilobits per second, which only makes sense to other sound techs. And the site host that I'm using requires it to be 16-bit and 128 kilobits per second, which doesn't sound great. If you've ever heard of the Patreon also. I write stuff for Patreon on at Brunsworks. Right now I'm working on a series of Brunsworks.com is the skeletal website. There's a contact form, an about page, and there's not a whole lot else. But there will be more. For my Patreon page, I generally focus on costuming. I did a piece called Super Design for a couple of years that I'm going to be rebooting, and I'm also going to be doing a series on the Doctor Who costumes, starting with Save This Costume, 5th, 6th, and 7th Doctors. For those who followed Doctor Who in the classic era, those were the 80s Doctors, and there were issues.
Even with number 5?
Yeah, the main problem with number 5 is that his costume would wash out with light backgrounds. Huh?
Oh.
Also, Peter Davison, the 5th Doctor, was famous for hating the trousers they had him wear. He felt that, because he'd asked originally to be wearing a black coat and some variant on cricket whites, because he's a cricketer.
Oh, so
they gave him the cricket. Yeah, he was part of a team called Showbiz 11 that was an amateur team of actors and directors.
Oh, neat.
For about 20 years in the UK. But then they gave him the stripy pants that nobody really liked because it needed some color, but there wasn't enough color to keep him from blending into some of the sets.
Okay.
Particularly if, as I was doing at the time, I was still watching it on a black and white television most weeks. Yeah, the hat was the words. The words meaning good or bad? Oh, it was very Miami. Yeah, it was a Columbia, or it was a colonial style Panama hat.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
All I will say about that is John Nathan Turner was kind of a lot. I actually have that hat about 6 feet away from me right now. It's got the default band as opposed to the red band because I haven't managed to cut the fabric right yet. But I do have the colonial Panama hat. Worst. Okay, it was the worst. Okay. I don't know. I think it would have been worse if Colin Baker had kept it. He was the 6th Doctor. He was the one who wore the sort of patchwork outfit.
The question marks came back.
Yeah, the question marks started when John Nathan Turner got there. Tom Baker had them for a year, and then they stayed through.
Yeah, I was like, when was that? Okay.
Stayed through the. Oh, you're using text to speech. Wow. So anyway, the first new thing that I'll have coming back within the next couple of weeks is, can this costume be saved? The 5th Doctor. I'm starting with the 5th because I'm easing people into it. There are a lot of people out there who weren't born soon enough to watch the classic era of Doctor Who, so all they know is from 2005 on, and most of those costumes have been pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And fit the character of the Doctor that was going on at the time.
Yeah.
Basically.
But, right.
Okay, so
we're doing sort of a Minnesota goodbye here. We've been trying to wrap up.
Have you any interest in building up your YouTube channel at all? Just curious, real quick.
I'm not terribly excited about building up my YouTube channel because it's hard to monetize. I will probably do it for promotional reasons only.
Okay.
But YouTube is an income stream, and even as a content stream is not great because I spend so much time doing other people's material, and I do a lot of stage work that I don't have the time it really would take to put on a good quality YouTube channel, something like a Tom Scott or even a video podcast. Like I've been guesting on Fandom Entanglement's Sliders episodes, where we rewatch episodes of Sliders and give notes on them. The 7th Doctor looked like Mr. Bean is the Doctor. That is a very apt description. I don't know that I've ever seen Sylvester McCoy and Rowan Atkinson in the same place.
Are they the same person?
And the funny thing is that unfortunately, Sylvester McCoy had the bad luck to take over as the 7th Doctor as the show was already about to sunset. Yeah. So he was getting some of the best stories, some of the best writing, some of the best scripts, and he was one of the best actors, in my opinion, who played the Doctor. Not least of which because he was a past middle-aged guy who could still do stunts.
Ones that I saw, yeah. But we're laughing.
Well, I think you should definitely take a look at what I'll be writing for the Can This Costume Be Saved? Right now, I'm working on figuring out a way to do the artwork because I'm not a visual artist. But I want to draw a couple of different costumes for each doctor, one of which would have been the costumes they themselves proposed.
Maybe you can get in touch with a couple of people that have something to do with Necro, like H. Corlett Scott, Heather Scott.
Yes.
I
actually worked for her sister.
Weeks ago. But she's a really good artist.
Yeah, I worked for her sister, Jennifer Davis, who directs in the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah, you told me that. But yeah.
And we had talked about doing an audiobook together, but
Heather's such a nice lady.
Yeah, she's really nice.
Caught up with her a couple months ago now, at an event and locally here, and then we're doing stuff.
Outstanding. Yeah, I'll talk with her about that. See if she's willing to do it. I can't pay her because the page isn't making any money.
Yeah, couldn't hurt to.
It's more of a thought repository at this point.
Sure.
That's part of why I'm not really super into doing a YouTube channel per se. I have one technically in much the same sense that I have an Instagram, but
yeah,
it's mostly.
I get to send things to my Instagram that I did in some other place, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm actually way more active on Blue Sky and Tumblr.
Yeah, I need to get on Blue Sky.
It's good. It's good. It's like Twitter without the jerks.
So that's coming. That's coming, folks. Anyway, I probably should go because and I want to let you go. I'm sure you have things going on. So we know where you can find you if need be. Everybody knows about NecronomiCon Tampa. That was curious, and people have asked me so many questions about it. So that was one reason why I wanted to have some folks on to talk about it. I'm going to be talking to more folks about possibly keeping going with this kind of a series that I guess this is turning into. So anyway, thank you very, very much, everybody who especially to Maggie who came in while we were live. Anybody watching the replay, thank you very much. Thank you, Perry, for coming and talking to me about NecronomiCon Tampa
and Southern Media
and SouthernMediaCon, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you next month apparently.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching again, and I agree, Maggie. Oh no, who is this?
Sorry, Jackie.
Oh, sorry. I hope you can watch on the replay. But this is Perry. This is where am I pointing at?
That is me.
This is Perry. Got to mirror my camera. Next time. Thank you, Maggie, very much.
Yes. Well, it was good talking with you, Heather. I'm going to go off and going to make some beans for dinner.
And I'm going to go and probably brave the heat and walk the dog. So.
Alrighty.
I'm wearing shorts. It's May. This is not a thing. Anyway. Sorry.
Take it easy, y'all.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Bye.